this computer. All right. So I am so excited to have as my very first guest, Saraphina Churchill from Images by Serafina in the Digi Dialogue Roundtable Info Session. I'm going to make sure my notifications are not going to ping me while we're talking. I always forget to do that. And so I prepared for this conversation. And so I want to start just with the beginning, right? What's a little bit about your background? And introduce yourself, please.
Hello. So I'm Saraphina Churchill, and I'm going to start off by saying I am recovering from some sort of non-COVID, non-flu illness, but it was also very unpleasant. So I may occasionally need to mute to clear my throat, and I apologize in advance. But there was no way I was missing this opportunity. So anyway, my name is Saraphina Churchill. I run a small company based on Cape Cod, which is called Images by Serafina. I offer photography and graphic design services for small business. Typically, it's kind of like a virtual art department. You're a small business that doesn't have someone in-house that can do that for them, and they don't necessarily want to coordinate with several vendors on a project. If you need both really stellar images and graphics, that's where I come in if you are local to me. And thanks to our new hybrid culture where we get to do things like this and meet on Zoom, if all you need is graphic design work, you do not have to be local to me. I can work with you anywhere, everywhere, virtually, which is super fun for me because I've been able to expand and have clients everywhere from Cape Cod to California.
So super excited to have you here. Serafina's going to put her contact information in the chat at some point. So you'll be able to check out her website. And if you don't know her already, connect with her at a future date. But I want to know, how long have you lived on Cape Cod, or as I like to call it, in the Cod, not on the Cape? How long have you lived?
You're allowed to say because you're in Rhode Island. I washed ashore to the Cape in 2009 by way of Washington, D.C. However, I grew up in the western part of Massachusetts that very few people have heard of, right on the edge of where the Berkshires and the Pioneer Valley meet. That's where I grew up.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm going to tell you right now, Serafina has the most amazing sense of humor, and she is just a funny gal. Okay, have you ever done stand-up?
Okay, so no, but and like now I feel pressured to be funny, but that you're not, it's weird that you are not the first person to say that. So I don't know what to do with that information, maybe in a past or future life, but right now, no, it's all about,
okay. Put it on the vision board.
It's all about being a pixel magician right now. That's where I'm at.
Okay. Put it on the vision board for later, maybe you can come back to it. So let's get back to, speaking of which, your work in the world, what you offer. How do you define visual branding?
The best way I think is to give an example that is real world and everyone's really familiar with, right? So if you think about the Nike logo, whether you own a Nike product or not, odds are you are seeing that swoosh in your head right now. So that is a really big, giant example of visual branding in a way where whenever you see that swoosh, you know it's Nike, right? So that visual recognition is a key piece to your branding.
And so why is it important to small business owners or small businesses like us? I mean, we're not Nike, we're not going to swoosh it up, but we still need to have visual branding, right?
Absolutely, because while you may not be on a global platform, there's no reason why you can't be that recognizable in your market. There's no reason why your target customer doesn't recognize your brand if they are looking for your service. So it is important for your company, no matter what stage you're on, small, medium, large, to have that good visual branding in place.
Gotcha. And just to clarify for my own thing, a small business would have to do brand positioning stuff, if you will. They have to figure out their brand before they would come to you, where you articulate it visually. Is that right?
Typically, yes. I love it when I have the good fortune of starting with someone before they've launched, so we can really dive into the why, the reason why they're doing what they're doing, and we can build out, starting with a logo, but there's so much more to it than that, build out their brand for them. I love it when I have that opportunity, but oftentimes I'm working with folks who have already started that process, but maybe they haven't completely sewed it all up, And that's where I can be most helpful.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I was hoping you could share some of your clever ideas of how to use your visual brand or your logo. I'll give you a hint. You once told me about a mask situation. Remember that? Remember we talked about that? So what are some, because you're so clever, what are some clever ways to use your logo?
Well, okay. So any swag item ever should have, if you're giving it away as a, what's the word I'm looking for brand recognition, you should have that as branded as humanly possible. Right. So like, it's on my mug, it's on the wall behind me. I'm wearing a black and white shirt because my brand is black and white. I often do that. So it all kind of matches and is consistent everywhere.
Okay, that makes total sense. So that's a great segue to the next question. How do the colors play into your logo or your graphic design?
Okay. So colors have an emotional trigger in the brain, both consciously and subconsciously. So another real world, super fun example of this is McDonald's. Everyone knows their logo. Again, whether you go there every week or you haven't been there in 30 years, that giant golden arch with the red block under it, those two colors, red and yellow combined, has an effect in the brain that makes you both hungry and in a hurry.
I want French fries right now.
Right. Sorry, folks. I don't have French fries, but if you're hungry and you're in a hurry, suddenly doesn't McDonald's sound like the perfect solution? You're driving along the road, you see those golden arches in the distance, then you see the highway sign like this exit to McDonald's. If you're at all hungry, you're going to pull over. So those colors were chosen on purpose. And if you think about it, a lot of fast food restaurants use those two colors, and that's why.
Oh, yeah. So there's a whole psychology, right? A psychology.
Absolutely. And every color has a different sort of level of response. So actually I have a cheat sheet where with sort of the basics. And of course, if anybody wants to deep dive, geek out about color theory with me, I'm in. Set up a meeting. I'd love to chat more. But I did develop sort of a quick downloadable worksheet with all of these pieces, sort of for the basics, if anyone's interested in how maybe their colors are being affected.
Everyone do this with your hand if you're interested.
So there you go. The color cheat sheet is at that link. It's a downloadable PDF, or there's a screenshot on it on that website.
All right.
And that's sort of a secret link to my website. It's not advertising.
Secret. I love secret links. Okay. What are the top 3 tips you can share with us when it comes to visual branding?
Well, number 1 would be consistency. So if you're going to pick your colors, your fonts, your voice, and you're going to use that everywhere and anywhere. It's going to be in all of your print collateral. It's going to be on all your online collateral. It's going to be, if you have a brick and mortar, it's going to be right up on front of your sign. It's going to be absolutely everywhere. If you have a location, when people walk in, they should still see those same colors, fonts, absolutely everywhere. Because that, again, subconsciously builds trust. When they see that, if you're constantly showing up in the same way everywhere, you are establishing that you are in fact a thought leader or a professional, or you are at the top of your game. And that's building trust with someone before they're even worked with you. So that's the first thing I would say. The other thing I would say is simplicity. So again, if you think about those fast food joints, their logo is not their whole menu. So think about making sure that while their menu's on brand, it's not the whole darn thing at the beginning of your logo is more like a punctuation mark, not the entire essay. So make sure that you're keeping it simple. Again, that also helps with that recognizability, like Nike is just flipping check mark. Like it's really, which is based on Greek mythology, and it brings up the emotion of movement and warriors and winning, which of course is perfect for an athlete or an apparel company. But if you keep it simple, that would be another thing that'll help you rise above the rest. And then one more thing, especially for those who are solo acts like me, if you're out there doing this all by yourself, get a team, even if they're not your employees, they're just your trusted advisors. That could be your family inside your house. That could be your best friend from college. That could be your neighbor. That could be someone like your business bestie that you met networking. But have people around you that you trust them and that you know they're going to be honest with you. So if they tell you it's great, that works. It says the message you're trying to send. Take them at their word. But if they look at you and go, missed the mark, try again. So make sure you have people you can talk it out with, and don't just assume that everything you put out there is perfect right off the bat.
I love it. So I heard consistency, keeping it simple, and have your core group of advisors to get some feedback.
Mhm.
Excellent. I love it. And how does the visual branding, and you touched on this a little bit, but I want to kind of circle back here, within a small business's overall brand positioning strategy, how does it, sync up in some of the other branding activities a small business might be looking at? I stumped her.
Well, I'm gonna blame the fever. Hold on. So so do you mean like where you would use that brand in?
Yeah, perhaps, or is it on collateral? Is it, how does it, it's not necessarily a standalone thing, right? It's really going to be everywhere, like you were saying, because of that consistency.
So like I didn't get back to the mask thing. So for instance, whenever I go out in public, representing my company, we're now off masks, but I still wear them. The mask that I have, it looks exactly like this. So it's my black and white logo in the center, and it's that houndstooth background. So whether you're meeting me at a physical networking event or we're meeting on Zoom, you're seeing that exact image every single time. So that's that consistency, even if we never work together. But that is sealing my my identity to those markings. And then when I post something on Facebook and you see that, you're gonna like, oh, what does Serafina have to say? You might, if you like me, you might stop and look at it, right? So so that, again, that consistency and using it literally everywhere all the time. I have when I meet with a client, here, I have this. This is my little notebook I take with me to physical meetings with clients. It's black and white. Like everything I own that I use everywhere for my business is a black and white pattern. Every time I'm on a Zoom call, it's a black and white pattern shirt. Like it's everywhere. That's subliminal all the time.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my God, I'm having so many ideas in my head to get my act together. What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to visual branding? I think I have my answer, but I want to hear your answer.
Well, so again, trying to put everything into one piece of collateral is a huge mistake, I think, or people just assuming, hey, I've got a website, got a logo, I'm all set, done, I'm good, and not realizing that it's an ever evolving piece with your business. As your business grows, so does your brand, so does your messaging, and everywhere you're going to use it, depending on your service or product. To like, there's ways to have a more in-depth conversation about this specific to an industry, but I would say just on a generic level, you're not ever really done.
And I would add to that, a misconception is you don't need a visual brand. You do, especially nowadays when we're digitally engaged and more present. And
in a world where I'm competing for work on the other coast, yeah, I think it's probably helpful where, like it's to have some sort of, I'm trying to think of the right word. I don't know if trustability is really the word I'm looking for, but that's all my brain can do right now. But it's sort of, it gives you that authoritative, that's not the right word either. Bloody hell. Anyway, it helps you position yourself in a way that'll help you stand out against your competitors. It'll help you be remembered, recognizable. I think it is important, especially if you're trying to scale or grow, that it definitely is helpful.
okay, I'm probably not gonna be able to use this audio because she said hell. No, I'm kidding.
It was bloody hell, so that's proper.
Bloody
right?
hell. She said bloody hell. Anyway.
Been worse, trust. I live on Cape Cod.
You are such a rock star. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. Now, what is the best way for folks to reach out to you, stay connected? You can just put it in the chat-a-rooney.
Okay. I'm an email person. I'm in that generation of email is still my favorite.
Okay.
But honestly, if you want to find me, my stay in touch page on my website has every possible way to find me. And I will meet you where you're at, but email's my fave. So
Right.
yeah.
Love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, does anyone have any questions? And do we remember the protocol? You're just going to send me a direct message with a question mark. So if anyone has any questions, you could try that protocol to see if Denise knows what the hell she's doing. Heck, I meant to say heck, what the heck she's doing. Well, this was super informative. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the recording because we don't need to do all of this part of it.